Tonight, we analyze games 1 and 2 of the NBA Finals, plus, finally, a couple of days ago, a decision was finally made as Aaron Rodgers has decided his next NFL team he will play for next season. Our Nation Sports Show is next. Our Nation Sports Show. The NBA Finals began last Thursday in Oklahoma City, featuring the top-seeded Thunder, led by MVP SGA, against Tyrese Halliburton and the Pacers. For 47 minutes and 59 seconds, the Thunder imposed their will on both ends of the floor when the game seemed over and out of reach, like they have all season long. The Pacers did not surrender. Another incredible comeback for the ages that left everybody's jaws on the floor. Halliburton and the rest of the Indiana squad made clutch shots and critical defensive stops when every possession, second, mattered the most. Everybody following Game 1 screamed in unison, "What the Hally just happened?" In Game 2, the Thunder would dominate from the opening tip, leaving Game 2 not to be decided with a critical possession with a convincing victory. OKC even these finals at a game apiece. Now, the final shifts to Indiana for Games 3 and 4, who will seize control of these finals and be one step closer to a championship.
To the court, talking all that is sport, breaking down the latest news, scores, and more. Welcome to our Nation Sports Show.
It's 7 o'clock on the East Coast, and you know what that means. Live for another edition. Hey, better late than never. The man of the hour, too sweet to be sour. Unlike LeBron, he shows up in the nick of time, and he also shows up before 3 minutes of the broadcast. JT, Joey Thornton, what's going on, man?
Wait a minute. Did somebody say 3 minutes?
Yes, I did, and you just joined as soon as I was giving the intros. And what is going on, everybody? We are here. We are live right about now, live and in color on a Tuesday night. And it is an awesome time to be a sports fan and a wrestling fan. And ladies and gentlemen, before we get to tonight's festivities of covering the world of sports, we have to plug the social media platforms. Up first on Twitter or X at @ON_sports show. Facebook.com/Nation Sports Show, and where we are live right now on YouTube.com/Nation Sports Show. Be sure to like, share, subscribe to all your family and your friends that love the world of sports. And also, speaking of love, for anybody that loves the world of professional wrestling just as much as we do, and we're going to get into that tonight because we're not leaving this broadcast tonight without talking about last night's Raw a little bit later on. But if you want all things professional wrestling content, follow the Nation's Corner on Twitter or X at Nation's Corner, Facebook at The Nation's Corner, Instagram at The Nation's Corner, and where they are live on most Saturday nights where it's all right for fighting, talking a little wrestling talk at youtube.com/Donations Corner. Be sure to like, share, subscribe if you love professional wrestling. And with that being said, like I said, before we got too deep into this broadcast, my man joining as soon as we basically practically got on the air, JT Joy Thornton. What's going on, my man?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Hope everybody's having an amazing Taco Tuesday. And yes, I mean, come on, it's a thing. We all know Taco Tuesday is a thing, but we're not here to talk about tacos. We're here to talk about sports, specifically NBA Finals, NFL news, and whatever else we want to talk about, except my Atlanta Braves, who suck. But I digress. Let's do this.
Let's do it. And before we get to the NFL starting hot and heavy with the NBA Finals, game one on Thursday, it was an incredible come from behind victory by Halliburton and the Pacers against Gilgeous Alexander and the Thunder, who led, like I said in the intro, for 47 minutes and 59 seconds. Joey,
7 seconds.
yep,
Well, yeah, you're right. You're right, because it was 0.3 seconds.
yeah.
That's right.
Joey, we watched this game. It was unbelievable. I mean, if you don't know what happened in game one, living under a rock, I don't know what universe you live in, but game one was just unbelievable. I mean, the Thunder, for 47 minutes of this game, imposed their will on offense and defense and did not give Indiana a chance to breathe. I mean, we talked about this series, Joey, how the Thunder's defense is swarming and how they attack. And man, when you look at this game, Indiana had 19 turnovers, 19, 20 turnovers in the first half. They were turning the ball over left and right, but somehow they were still in the game because one of the critical, misconceptions about the turnovers, the lack of points off those turnovers. And that's what kept Indiana in the game, practically. So instead of being down 25, 30, 35 points, they were still down, 15. They were hovering, under trailing 15. And first off, what were your thoughts of the Thunder's performance in that first half? Because Indiana could not get nothing going.
Indiana certainly could not get anything going in that first half. I mean, OKC proved in the first half why they are the number one seed in the Western Conference and why they have proven all their doubters wrong. But you gotta look at that second half because NBA, just like NFL, Major League Baseball, hockey, tennis, golf, soccer, you name it. It is a full game, not just a half a game. Now,
Mm-hmm.
granted, Indiana couldn't get anything going in the second half to start with, which is why they were down 94-79 at one point. But that's when the Thunder took their foot off the gas. That's when they should have stayed on Indiana because Indiana, like we've mentioned all throughout the playoffs so far, they know how to come from behind. And it doesn't have to be the same person getting all the points. They know how to spread the ball around. They know how to get other players involved. Now, I know that the Thunder has that as well, but you got to think Shea Gilgeous-Alexander scored 38 points in game one. The leading scorer for the Pacers, I believe, had 17 or 18. That's because Indiana knows how to spread the ball around. And once again, Tyrese Halliburton comes through in the clutch. As a matter of fact, you know what? I'm not even calling him Tyrese Halliburton anymore. I'm calling him Tyrese Hallicobe right now. Because
For real.
we all know if you have been watching basketball as long as Steven and I have, and I'm sure as Kevin and Ezra and Randy have, we all know for a fact that there was one man in the early 2000s, early 2010s that always came through in the clutch, and that man was the one and only, may he rest his soul, Kobe Bryant. He always came through in the clutch, and that is what Halliburton is doing in these playoffs. He has turned the whole Indiana organization around, and them taking game one put them in a huge good spot, with now game three going to their home court tomorrow night
And that's
at
the
8:30.
thing.
At 8:30, check your local listings.
And
But
that's the,
yeah,
and that's the thing, with this game one performance is how for the first 24 minutes of this game, the Pacers were just hanging around. They weren't getting blown out. They were getting dominated, but they weren't getting the door, slammed on them. And in that second half, Toppin and Siakam and Miles Turner and again Neesmith again and Andrew Nembhard were making shots to keep the Pacers alive. And then late stages in that third into the fourth when it was crunch time, Indiana's defense intensity ramped up to 11 and they were getting stops and they were blocking shots and they were, swarming the ball and they were letting Gilgeous Alexander get his points, but they were stopping everybody else around SGA. And the thing about it is Carlisle had a game plan in mind. Okay, SGA, you can get your points, but we're going to stop your teammates. We're going to stop J-Dub. We're going to stop Holmgren. We're going to stop Hartenstein. We're going to stop everybody. We're going to stop your big guys and the rest of your guards and forwards, from being productive. And then Halliburton with that game winner. I mean, I'm sitting here listening to the game on ESPN Radio. I'm going, don't take the timeout. Don't. Here we go. And then I'm like, I don't know, Joey. I mean, I had a feeling that Halliburton was going to do it again because when you come prepared as they were in a critical juncture of that game, because Carlisle said at the end of the game in the press conference that if the call against Siakam went against us, if we got the stop, we were going to not call a timeout and just let it play out. And that is what I wish a lot of, teams in the NBA would do. Instead of taking so many timeouts and prolonging the game's, outcome, you ruin the flow of the game. When you don't take a timeout, anything can happen. And in that given minute, I had a funny, suspicious feeling that Halliburton was going to deliver the knockout blow, and he did.
he dropped it like it was hot, dropping dimes all night long. I mean, even though he may have only scored 14 points in game one or in that game one, I mean, like we've said all throughout the postseason, Halliburton has been clutch in these playoffs. I mean, he has guided the team from at least three 7-point comebacks in the final seconds of a playoff game, when only all the other teams out there in the land have a combined one win. He's done it technically 4 times now.
Technically 3 with the game winners, but 4 for 4 this year in the postseason and finals alone, with three game winning shots and 1 shot to tie the game against the Knicks in game 1 in the conference finals. And then in game 2, the Thunder showed up and I called it. And when I was at Kevin's little girl's birthday party that Saturday, me and him were talking about the game coming up on Sunday. We both agreed that the Thunder were going to respond and were going to clamp down on defense, and they did. And the thing that impresses me about this Thunder team is how they play so well together on the defensive side of the ball. And then when their defense is turning you over, it leads to fast break offense. And SGA had a great game in this one with 34 points. And he also joins Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant as the only players to score at least 30, 38 or 34 points and average 5 or 6 assists, in the first 2 games of the finals. So that's nice company, to be in there with. And another staggering stat with this Pacers team is so far during these first 2 games, they have led these finals for 1 minute and 53 seconds. Now I know, the stats, the numbers usually don't lie. But this is where the Pacers play to their best of their ability. Everybody counting them out. Everybody, having them on the ropes and saying, "Oh, there's no way they can defy logic and they can do it again." Indiana, if you think about it, Joey, they won in a way with getting the split. Sure, they wanted, to get, two in a row, but that's hard to do, on the road. But Indiana had to have felt good to get at least one of those games in OKC's building. And now they head back to Indianapolis for the first time, hosting an NBA Finals game in 25 years. And tomorrow night, that crowd in Indy is going to be electric.
You know it is. And this is why Oklahoma City is going to be under the absolute most pressure going into this into this game 3 tomorrow night, because keep in mind, here's another stat for you. Teams who win game 3 of a playoff series, much less NBA Finals, go on to win the series anywhere between 75 to 80% of the time.
Yep.
So the Thunder, yes, they are going to be under the most pressure going into this game 3 tomorrow night, because one, they're going to be playing in front of that hostile Indiana crowd who has not seen an NBA Finals game in, like you just mentioned, 25 years. So that crowd is going to be absolutely hostile and electric tomorrow night.
And we all know that role players play better at home. And
that's right.
Siakam had a great game in game 1. And I think that Siakam and the rest of these role players are going to step up. And Siakam, the scary part about him is he can easily be a number 2 or number 1, and he can dominate. And a lot of people, in the mainstream media have said that Tyrese needs to get more involved. I'm sorry, he's a point guard. Can he get his points? Absolutely. Can he assert himself, on the offensive side of the basketball? Sure he can. But he is more of a get everybody involved type of, point guard. And he likes to feel out the game, and how it's going, the flow of the game, how fast is it? How slow is it? And that's how he likes to get, involved. And Halliburton, I think, doesn't pay attention to the critics. I think he just goes out there and he does what he needs to do. And he doesn't have to be great, all game long. But he can be great when it matters the most and lead this team to victory. And he's done that all postseason long. And that right there is the scariest statistic when it comes to any player. Yeah, you can be crap, for 2.5, 3 quarters, but if you're still in the game, and that's the thing about this Pacers team, that I still give them a fighting chance, to compete in this series. They live for this. They live to be in these moments where they're the underdog. They live for these moments that nobody's picking them. And because the majority of the times against Cleveland, and sometimes even during the Knicks series, they were being picked against. And during these finals, before they started, everybody in the mainstream media was picking them to get swept or beaten 5. I'm like, what are you, a damn idiot? Have you not been paying attention? Indiana, do not add fuel to the fire for them, because Indiana thrives on being told, oh, you can't do it. You can't beat the best of the best of the best. Because if Indiana goes on to pull off another monumental upset, this will go down as one of the greatest runs in NBA history when it comes to the playoffs. And this will be right up there. And this team, and I've said it last week on the show, Joey, this team reminds me of the 2011 Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, I can agree to that. I can
Man,
definitely agree with that.
look who the head coach is, Rick Carlisle. This guy believes in all of those guys from the top to the bottom, from the star player to the lowest guy on the bench who doesn't get very minutes. He believes in everybody. Look at the minutes that he gives. He plays 10 players deep a lot of the times. And at any given minute, any of these players in that rotation can change the game. And I don't know where this series is going to go, but this is the one thing I love about the NBA right now compared to over a decade ago. We experienced no parity for a good chunk of the last 10 to 15 years. LeBron dominated the Eastern Conference, going with Miami to 4 consecutive finals. Then he goes back to Cleveland, goes to 4 more consecutive finals. He led them to a championship. He led Cleveland. He led the Miami to back-to-back championships. Then he had Golden State with their dynasty, being in 5 NBA finals, practically in a row, winning 3 out of 5. And everybody got tired of there being no parity.
Exactly. And if you want to go even further back, what this Indiana Pacers team was reminding me of is I'll give you 2 prime examples. Example number 1, those LA Laker teams from 2000 through 2002 when they won those 3 straight NBA championships. And I'll give you another good example, and this is a team that you've talked about a handful of times on the show. The 2005 San Antonio Spurs, whenever they won a championship.
Another team they also remind me of, and this just hit me, the 04 Pistons team.
Yep.
Everybody played as one solid, complete unit. And how Indiana is playing right now, can they do it? We don't know. That's the beauty of these finals, is that the unpredictability is going to be there in this series because it is a proven fact in the last 7 years. It is no guarantee that you're going to get back to the NBA Finals because for a 7 consecutive year, we are going to have a brand new champion. And one of these 2 teams is going to win their first NBA championship in franchise history. And I think that's a great thing for the NBA because after years of the Spurs and the Lakers and LeBron, the Bulls in the 90s and the Celtics and the Lakers in the 80s and the Celtics in the 70s and the Lakers, and the Celtics teams of the 50s and 60s. Now, there is no guarantee who's going to win the championship. Everybody has a shot now to win the NBA title. And I think that's great because we've seen in the last couple of years, even a play-in team like the Miami Heat, who nobody had on their bingo card of making a deep postseason run, but they did in 2023. And fast forward now, this Pacers team who was in the conference finals last year against the Celtics, yeah, they got swept, but they were in every single game, and they led the majority of those games. Could you imagine that they would have beaten the Celtics? They would have been in the NBA Finals, right then and there. But, and this Thunder team, they're young. They had to go through the growing pains last year, of losing to the Mavericks in 6 games. And this year, the youngest team in the NBA, just like they were when a young KD, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden were on that team 15 years ago. SGA has led this team to being a possible contender for years to come as far as having a shot to get here. But there's no guarantee that the Thunder are going to be where they are now next year, because the league now, it is more wide open than it has ever been in the last 7 years. And it will continue to be, I believe. Because the era of the dynasties, it's done. It's done. And it will be interesting to see what happens tomorrow night in game 3. Because, man, that Indiana crowd tomorrow is going to be full throat. They are going to be so raucous, so loud. And the Pacers players are going to be feeding off that energy inside the building. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be ex-Indiana players there like Reggie Miller and Mark Jackson and maybe Jalen Rose. And I mean, there's so many great players that have came from that organization. Roy Hibbert, hell, maybe even Paul George might be there. Who knows? It's going to be very fascinating to see where we stand with this weekend when these next 2 games conclude. Because honestly, at this rate, there is no telling who's going to win these next 2 games, because any of these 2 teams can win on their home on each other's home floors.
Hang on a second, Steven. I'll be right back.
Oh, you're good. And when you look at this series and how it plays out, I mean, on paper, the Thunder should win this series. But when you look at how this Indiana team is built, look how the Thunder team is built. Both of these teams are built to have run after run and to have a deep rotation that can play with any combination of players. And it's going to be very fascinating to see where, how tomorrow goes, because it's just to think that where we are now, any of these teams that make the playoffs have a shot to be where these 2 teams are now. Indiana has not experienced this, hell of a, ride in 25 years. Yeah, they've been to the conference finals before, but they faced LeBron and lost to him twice. They lost to the Celtics last year in the conference finals when they easily could have won that series. They could have won at least 3 or 4 of those games in a row. That's how crazy it is to think that Indiana got back here. And not only did they get back here to the conference finals, but they beat the Knicks in 6, and now they're in the NBA finals. And to think the Thunder, where they've come from, having to go through the adversity that they went through last year into this year, and being the best record in the NBA with 68 wins this year, SGA winning the MVP. And I tell you, the one thing that impresses me with SGA's game, he brings back the mid-range J. When 90% of the league is focused on jacking up a shit ton of threes, Gilgeous-Alexander is jacking up the mid-range jumper. And the mid-range J, it's a very lost art and a very lost, effective, shot. Because I love how he plays. Because the crazy thing is, if he wanted to, he could be ultra aggressive and still get his points. Or he can be less aggressive and still get his points. And Alexander plays the game right. Like, he honestly reminds me of maybe Larry Bird in a way. Larry Bird, as far as if we're talking star players. And I'll go on record in saying this. I know some people in the mainstream have already said this, but I think that if Alexander, and I know I've talked about this and Kevin's talked about this, we believe that if SGA can lead this Thunder team to their first NBA Finals series, championship victory, that he will go down as the greatest Thunder player, even greater than Kevin Durant. Because Kevin Durant did not win with the Thunder. He had to leave and join the competition to win a championship. And as great as a player as Kevin Durant is, his legacy is somewhat tarnished because he had to join the enemy to win a championship or two. If he would have won a championship with the Thunder, nobody would be saying ill wills towards the great KD. But if SGA can lead this team to a championship, it's over. The MVP led this team to the championship. Durant can't even say that because in critical moments, Durant choked. He missed big shots. He crumbled on defense when it mattered the most. And I still go back to that Game 6 game with the Thunder and with the Warriors when Durant was taking stupid shots and being stupid aggressive. And I understand, I just said that SGA could be super aggressive and get his points. But SGA knows when to be aggressive. Durant went out of control being aggressive. There's a way to be aggressive and insert yourself and then be overly aggressive and just take wild shots. And that's what Durant was doing during that conference finals back in 2016. And just
Sorry
because,
about that. I'm back.
oh, you're good. I was just talking about, and we talked about this on the show. Let's see where you stand with this. If SGA leads this Thunder team to their first NBA championship, will he be the greatest Thunder player? I think he will, because Kevin Durant can't say that because he had to leave the Thunder to go to the Warriors and win 2 championships just to get over the hump.
That is a very interesting question.
I mean, I'm not taking away nothing from Durant's years in Oklahoma City. But if we're talking about money on the table, we're talking about big time moments. You live to play in these big games. And Alexander so far has exceeded expectations and has delivered on the big stage so far. Durant can't even say right now, can't even say that, can't even say that he's the greatest Thunder. If this current Thunder team wins the championship, because Durant, Westbrook, and when Harden was there, they didn't do it at all or together.
No, and the 1 year that all three of them were together was when they lost to LeBron and the Heat in 5 games.
Mm-hmm. And that's going to be my argument is if Alexander can lead this team to the championship, he will be considered probably and arguably the greatest Thunder player. And I can believe it. And I agree with it because he didn't have to join the enemy to win a championship. It's almost like Durant said, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Because what I want is a championship, and I'm willing to sacrifice and turn my back on the team that I called home, for 9 years to join the enemy to win 2 championships. That's what snakes do. That's what traitors do. When they want to get ahead on people, they try to quit where they were and the progress that they were at just to join the other team, just to get by. And
technically, Kevin Durant has been a traitor to these teams more times than I could probably count on my fingers because he's gone from the Thunder to the Warriors to the Nets, the Suns. I mean, he's gone to all these teams.
He was lured to Brooklyn by Kyrie and didn't get nothing done. He couldn't even win the big one with Kyrie. Sure, on their record it may say championships on both of their rings, with the teams that they won championships with. But as far as winning together, nah, didn't happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, technically, whenever KD and Kyrie were both on the Nets, I don't think they even. I mean, I know they went to the playoffs, I think one season or maybe even two seasons, but even in those seasons, they were gone by the first or second round. So it's not like they made a deep run in the playoffs.
I agree with Don here in the chat. If Durant, Westbrook, and Harden would have stuck around for a few more years, they would have already had a championship. I absolutely agree.
That I can agree with 100%.
Because everybody was talking about, yeah, they're young. They got into this step. They've gotten to this, they've gotten so far to the finals. They lost to the Mavericks in 2011, and then they get over the hump the next year by beating San Antonio in the conference finals, going to the NBA finals, and they were a couple of games away from arguably, possibly winning that series because they won game one, they almost won game four, they almost won game two, and game five was just a blowout. But game four, game two were very competitive for the Thunder in that series. But that's neither here nor there. And when you look at where we now stand with the parity, there's no guarantee that the Thunder are going to get back here or the Pacers are going to get back next year because no team is safe anymore. Just because you have a superstar, just because you have great role players, that doesn't mean you're going to get back to the promised land the next year. I mean, look at the Nuggets when they won the championship in 23. A lot of, analysts and a
Look
lot
at the
of,
Celtics from last year.
look at the Celtics from last year. Many people thought that the Celtics were going to get back to the finals this year, but they didn't. The Nuggets 2 years ago, they didn't do it the previous season last year. They lost in 7 to the Wolves. And when you look at these teams' mentalities, and this is why this series is so hard to call, because you could flip a coin and say, oh yeah, I could see the Thunder winning. Oh yeah, I could see the Pacers winning this series. But these two teams have to think right now, guys, live in the moment. Be in the moment. Because we don't know what next year is promised getting back here, winning a championship. You have to rise
Exactly.
and be, ready in the moment, to succeed. And that's why these two teams are so evenly matched when it comes to that mentality.
And I mean, to be brutally honest, I mean, you know what? Let me see. Let me think back real quick. Yeah. Um, Whenever the Warriors and Cavaliers rivalry in the finals ended, ever since then, it has been two different teams in the NBA finals. Ever since that last Warriors Cavaliers matchup. It has been two different teams every year.
Yep. So with that being said, what do you think is going to happen in game three? Because I agree with Don as well. He says that I hope that the Pacers feed off the energy because if they, poop the game in game three and absolutely don't show up, this series might be over fast. They have to win tomorrow.
They do. But Oklahoma City knows they have to win tomorrow as well because the Pacers, I mean, or actually the Thunder were like, well, we took our foot off the gas in game one and we lost game one on our home floor. So now it feels like it's only fitting that we need to take a game on their home floor. So, like I said earlier, in the past, whoever has won game three of a playoff series has gone on to win the series right at 3/4 at a time. So that's why this game 3 is crucially important for both Oklahoma City and Indiana, because whoever can go out and take this game 3 tomorrow night will put themselves in prime position. Now, granted, whoever loses game 3 could come back and win game 4, which is definitely a possibility.
Absolutely.
But it just seems like whoever wins game 3 tomorrow night is going to get the momentum. And whether that is
Because
OKC or Indiana, but I also agree with what Don said here in the chat. Indiana needs to feed off that home crowd. They need to forget about the fact that it has been 25 years since they last hosted a finals game and go out and play the basketball that they know they can play. Same thing for OKC. I expect this game 3 tomorrow night to be an absolute dogfight. I expect it to be close all throughout, and I expect defenses to step up and offenses to step up as much as they can. But
to answer
then,
your question, Don, here in the chat, no, it is still not 2-3-2. For the last 10 plus years, it's been back to 2-2-1-1-1.
yep,
So,
yep, it is. Yeah, yeah. For a while, it was the 2-3-2 format, but then they switched it back. But
and
yeah,
that's where
this
the
game,
unpredictability kicks in because 2-2 or 2-3-2, it kind of favored the team that was going, home for games 3, 4, and possibly 5.
right?
But now that it's 2-2-1-1-1 scenario, now it gets a little dicey. And that's where the unpredictability can come in. And the scenario that is playing in my head, if the Thunder win tomorrow, there's a shot this is over in 5. But if the Pacers win game 3, this is going 6 or 7.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm taking a look at the schedule real quick, and whenever we go back on the air next week, games 3, 4, and 5 will all be under our belts. Because game 5 is Monday night, this upcoming Monday night. So who knows? After Monday night, we could have an NBA champion.
Yes, we could, but we're hoping that that isn't the case because we want this series to go as long as possible as we can.
Yes.
Just like we want the Stanley Cup finals to go on as long as we can. And by the looks of it, the switch gears here real quick. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup finals was a overtime thriller. On the hold on to your butts.
Uh,
And
game
Edmonton
2,
pulled out the
game 2
victory.
was a thriller as well.
Yes, it was. In game 1, the Edmonton, was trailing 3-1, come back to tie the game, send the game, and then the game went into overtime, and then the Edmonton took game 1, and then game 2 was the same scenario, on the edge of your seat action, and Florida ended up pulling off that game 5-4 in overtime.
But then game 3 last night,
Jesus, what an ass whipping!
oof, oof,
Six to
6 to
one.
1. Oof,
Come on, Edmonton. I mean, I read a
sheesh.
tweet. I read a tweet last night by Scott Wetzel on Twitter. He said, "Geez, did the Oilers bet the over on how many goals the Panthers were going to score? Because my goodness gracious, to allow 6 goals, come on, like you got to do better than that. My God, and this is where hockey can get away from you very quickly. You got to show up and show out because I know that Edmonton, had the home ice advantage, in the first 2 games. But if you don't show up for game 4 on Thursday, I don't give a damn if game 5 is back in your building. This puppy's over.
Yeah,
I mean,
because Florida don't play around, and technically, for if we do have any hockey fans that watch our show, Um, keep in mind, it was these same two teams that met in the Stanley Cup final last year.
And we went back and forth with that one because, it looked like it was going to be, a bludgeon by the Panthers against the Oilers. But Edmonton made the series interesting by coming back and winning 3 consecutive games, sending it back to Florida for game 7. I mean,
They sure
anything's
did.
possible, but if you're Edmonton, you have to win game 4. Because,
Yes.
just like, because, I mean, dude, I was listening to this game. I was listening to game 1, and I could feel the tension in the building from those fans in Edmonton. Like, they were nervous as hell, in that building. I could feel, I could feel the butt cheeks clenching, they couldn't take it. Like, I need a drink, damn it. They just couldn't take they couldn't take it. The anxiety. And I trust me, I'm not going to lie to you guys. When I listen to a game, I don't care even if it is my team. If I'm listening to a game and it is close in football or close in basketball, even baseball and hockey, dude, every time it's so close in the final couple of minutes, I start going, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Because you're excited. And the radio announcers add to that excitement because you're getting audio. You're not just getting the visual picture, for those that can see. When you're listening to the radio broadcast, that's where the magic really happens because they're bringing you on the ride with the play-by-play and color commentary. And they're providing you detail by detail what's going on in the game. And you can just feel the tension, in these games. And if you're Edmonton, Connor McDavid does not want to be down 3-1, heading back to home ice, trailing 3-1, because that is the one thing that has allured McDavid is no Stanley Cups. And if you're Canada, the country, for 3 decades, no Canadian team has won a Stanley Cup. In over 30 years, it has not happened. And they know the pressure is on them. And also, real quick, shout out, really cool what happened on Friday. Shout out to one of the most legendary rock bands, 2 out of the 3 original members of the band Triumph, along with Brent Fitz on drums, Todd Kearns on bass and vocals, and also joining him on stage was the great Phil X on guitar. 2/3 of Triumph, joined by Fitz on drums, Todd on bass and vocals, and like I said, Phil X on guitar. Very cool that the rallying cry for Edmonton, Lay It on the Line, Triumph's classic song for 1977, has been kind of a rallying cry, their theme, to get them, ready, and just, it was so cool that those guys, did that for the fans. And it was also headlined by the Canadian band, the Glorious Sons. Those 2 bands played before game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Just a really cool atmosphere in Edmonton over the weekend during game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with game 4 on Thursday. Just like it'll be interesting to see what happens with the NBA Finals on, starting tomorrow on Wednesday with game 3. Because if you're the Pacers, if you're the Oilers, you have to show up. Mainly Edmonton, because they're already trailing 2-1. And they know the pressure that's on their back. They cannot afford to go back home 3-1. And Edmonton is just, they're going to have to feed off that energy, with the team on the road. because they're in enemy territory, and they know we're gonna have to if we're gonna beat this team, we're gonna have to get past Bobrovsky because Jesus Christ, I mean Bobrovsky is one of the best goalies in the NHL. He is so hard to score on. There was a couple times during game one, I was like, man, that was their chance to win the game because you could feel that Florida was going to pull that game one out because I had a feeling that the Panthers were going to win that game, but they didn't because that's how good Bobrovsky is. Because there was 2 times when it looked like Edmonton was going to score at the last second, saved, just critical saves by him, and just he's so hard to score on. And if you're Edmonton, you have to beat him quick. If you're Edmonton, you need to score at least the first 2 or 3 goals of this game to have a puncher's chance of winning. But don't blow it because no lead is safe. Just ask Florida in game 1. They're up 3-1. They're on the road. And this is why Florida, I picked them to win this series. Because Florida has proven time and time again, I know they've been here before, 3 years in a row. But if you want to beat the best, you got to beat the best. And Florida learned from their mistakes 2 years ago. They won last year in 7 after blowing 3 games in a row, a chance to win it. But they ended up winning it out in the end. And when you look at this series, Florida to me has nothing to lose because they've been here before. They've been here, they won, they've lost. Edmonton has all the pressure on them heading into game 4 because they know if they go down 3-1 to the defending Stanley Cup champions, you can go home, get a game, just like the Celtics did against the Knicks in the conference semifinals in game 5. That's the one thing you have to do. Unlike Minnesota, Timberwolves, show up to game 5 with no pride, no dignity, no desire to win the game. Show up and play. And Edmonton will do that if they are in a scenario where they are trailing 3-1. I know they will because they don't quit that easily.
Absolutely. And I hate that my time has to be cut short again this week, but I worked long hours at my job today and my wife just got home with some dinner. So I'm gonna go spend some time with them. So again, sorry it has to be cut short, but I gotta get out of here.
All righty, man.
All right. Peace out, man. And I'll give my thoughts on the NFL news that you're probably going to talk about next week. Of course, I don't want to talk about Aaron Rodgers because who cares about that? Yeah, who gives a care about that? Because we all know Mike Tomlin's going to have his first losing season ever.
All right, man. Great job, man.
But yeah, hopefully I'll be able to spend more time on next week.
Yep.
But we'll see.
Anyways, yes, as Joey allured to it, yes, we're going to talk about that guy, Aaron Rodgers, right now. I'm going to talk about Aaron Rodgers. Why? Because I'm the one hosting this bad boy. I am your host for this evening, Stephen Wyand. Thank you for joining me tonight and having a great time here tonight. But before we get to Mr. Rodgers, you can follow us on Twitter or X at Owen_Sports Show, Facebook.com/TheNationSportsShow. Well, right now I am riding solo once again here at the top of the hour. Almost at the top of the hour. Almost 6 minutes to go before the top of the hour. We are live right now on YouTube.com/TheNationSportsShow. Be sure to like, share, subscribe to all your family and your friends who love the world of sports. And yes, Aaron Rodgers. He has finally decided to come out of his darkness retreat for the time being and sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Shocker. Wow, I know. Rodgers signs with another football team before training camp starts. Yes. During OTAs. Yes. Shocker, shocker. Wow. Wow. Good for you, Aaron Rodgers. Yay! He signed with a football team, you guys. He gets to play with another team next year. Yay! 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 Ah, who gives a monkey's nutsack crap? Give me a break. Oh, jeez. I mean, it's so coincidence how Aaron decides to go and join the Pittsburgh Steelers because in week 1, the Steelers played the Jets on opening night on Sunday. On opening day, excuse me. The Steelers and the Jets play each other in week 1. Oh, what a coincidence. What a complete ironic thing. No, it's a bunch of bullshit. I mean, look, Aaron Rodgers, is he still talented? Yes. But that ego is so massive. Even a blind man like yours truly can see it clearly now. I mean, I don't care if he has the best offensive line. Father Time is still undefeated. I mean, quite frankly, he doesn't have the greatest offensive line. That's better than the Jets. I mean, if we're being, I'm being serious for a minute. Sorry, Lance Storm. But Aaron Rodgers is going to have a slight better offensive line, I think. But that doesn't mean he's going to have success all year long. Because the AFC is very hot when it comes to talent and teams. The Buffalo Bills, the Kansas City Chiefs, yes, led by that guy, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and the Baltimore Ravens. And then you got the Broncos, a young, team with Bo Nix at quarterback. And the Texans with CJ Stroud. And speaking of the Texans, real quick, they also made news the other day by getting former Cleveland Browns running back Nick Chubb. Very cool. Very cool. Adding to the dynamic dual threat along with Joe Mixon. Nick Chubb is an incredible running back. He's finally going to a team that has a better overall success rate than the Browns. He'll actually probably thrive and be successful with the Texans than he would if he was still staying with one of the most awful organizations in the Browns. And, well, speaking of awful, the Cowboys are awful too. But that's beside the point. That's for another time, another day, another episode of the show. But Aaron Rodgers has finally decided to join with the Steelers on a 1-year deal. And the media can hype this guy. Ooh, one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever put on a pair of pads. He's going to give this team a chance to win their 7th Super Bowl. Not so fast. Because unlike the mainstream media who kisses this guy's ass, us here on this show, we don't kiss nobody's ass. We just speak our opinions. We're not on here giving hot takes. We're on here giving our honest opinions. We don't come on here for clickbait and all that bullshit. We come on here and give you our honest takes on where we stand when it comes to the world of sports. And I will be saying this to the cows come home. You can put Rodgers with any team the rest of the way, and his play will not be where it has been even in the last 5 to 7, 10, 15 years. Because again, hello, Father Time is undefeated. I mean, yeah, he's got DK Metcalf, at wide receiver. But he doesn't really he's got a lot of pressure on him. And Mike Tomlin does too. Because I would laugh hysterically if Rodgers leads this Pittsburgh team to Tomlin's first season as a head coach with this organization since he joined when oh my God, what's his name? I'm drawing a blank. What's his name? Anyways, when Tomlin joined this team, he's not had a losing season. And he's had a very solid run up until the postseason. the last 6 years in a row they've made it. When they have made it, they haven't won a single playoff game. Bill Cowher, that's his name. Thank you. That just came to my head. But when you look at what Tomlin has, he's had a winning record all the time he's been there in Pittsburgh. But there's a possibility that this team could have a losing season, because we can throw all the excuses out the door last year when he was with the Jets, because no Achilles injury happened last year. Just mediocrity at its finest for those of us that love to laugh in his misery. Because after all, like the famous lyric from Metallica's My Friend in Misery, misery loves company. When you look at where Rodgers has been these last 4.5, 5 years, left Green Bay, goes to the Jets, hurts his Achilles, ruptures his Achilles. He's out for the rest of the year in 23. Last year comes back. Everybody in the media once again said, "Oh, they're going to crown their asses," saying, "This is the year. Rodgers going to save the Jets. He's going to save this organization." And he didn't, because of the offensive line, how bad it was. And now, once again, the mainstream media hype train. It's time, once again, for everybody to get on the hype train. Yes, I just made a parody of The Godfather. Shut up. I don't care. Everybody hypes the hell out of Rodgers since his days of being one of the best. Because I'm not going to deny that Rodgers has talent. He does. But even the great Tom Brady's career, his last year with the Buccaneers, he wasn't the great Tom Brady. He still wasn't that good that year. Now, the previous year, he was still Tom Brady. He was great. But the one year that Brady was bad, even he knew, I've had a great run. I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm retiring for good this time. And yes, we know Randy Guyerin is sitting there happy that Mr. Brady, or excuse me, QB12, has been retired as a professional athlete since 2022. Anyways, do I think Rodgers will have a solid year with the Steelers? Maybe. But I'm not going to be that guy that's going to sing his praises and say that the Steelers are going to be back, baby. They're going to the Steelers go Super Bowl? If they go to the Super Bowl, they'll have to be buying tickets to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, I'm sorry, but Aaron Rodgers is not going to lead this team to a Super Bowl. As long as Mahomes has anything else to say about it, Lamar Jackson has anything to say about it, or even Josh Allen has anything to say about it. Because Mahomes, he's out for revenge, to avenge that second Super Bowl loss and that beatdown against Philadelphia on the calendar during week 2 when the Chiefs played the Eagles. But all year long, Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers are going to get all this attention, but it's not going to amount to nothing if Rodgers doesn't, deliver the goods. And I don't think that just because you have a name-valued quarterback, that isn't going to bring you success. The biggest success that the Steelers could have, that offensive line, has to show up during practice and during the games and over-deliver. Because when Rodgers has been just physically, dominated, was because the offensive line, specifically for the Jets last year, and I know Don is watching this, even during the years in his final couple years with Green Bay, that offensive line was the drizzling shits the majority of the time. I mean, the Lions were teeing off on his ass, and the Vikings were, and good grief. The Jets 6, the Steelers 5. Oh boy. Anyways. Anyways, yes, Rodgers. Rodgers, he's gonna have all the mainstream media on his ass and hyping him and overrating him like they always have the last couple of years. But it is what it is, I guess. Anyways, moving on. I do want to talk about before we get the hell out of here. Last night, WWE Raw, one of the great. Now I know we're not primarily a wrestling show, but my God, that was one of the greatest Monday Night Raws in quite some time. Where the hell do I even begin? Guess we'll start with the opening segment. John Cena and CM Punk. Two of the best men to ever grace the microphone. John Cena and CM Punk went at it bar for bar at each other. It was fantastic. And just I love the lines that Punk was dropping on him. And I honestly believe that Punk could be the foundation, the biggest foundation of Cena's quote heel run, quote, cracking. And maybe eventually down the road, Cena will revert to good guy. Who knows? Love that 18-minute segment. Just it was fantastic. And that match was officially set up for Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia. Punk will face John Cena for the WWE Championship. And also, shout outs to the men and women on those Fatal 4-Ways last night. Those guys and gals absolutely delivered in that ring. Great, great, great King and Queen of the Ring matches last night. Good stuff. Good stuff last night. Roxanne Perez getting the victory for the women. And Sami Zayn getting the victory as well. And also, loved the reveal for the first time for the WWE fans. Now, us wrestling fans that knew this guy's legit badass persona back in TNA, Ron the Truth Killings. Yes, not our truth, Ron Killings. Unbelievable how this was done last night. Coming out there, no music, just on the table. Hello, here I am. And he had that crowd in the palm of his hands. I mean, I loved when he said, y'all brought our truth back. You know, y'all brought me back as y'all brought me back. You know, because of you, they listened. And I love when he said, I love our truth. And you love our truth. I love our truth too. But our truth can be funny. Too much, it can be funny a lot of the times. And he's very forgiving. But I'm not. And cutting the braids. In quick fashion, I might add. I mean, that was very impressive when I read that he cut his braids with this 3 clips. Just boom, done. Just crazy. And then saying, I am Ron Killings. Just, it gave me chills. I mean, to see this guy at 53 years of age, as over as he is with the WWE fans and with professional wrestling fans all over the world, I'm so happy for this guy that he is going to finally be able to show the entire world that never watched him in TNA how awesome he is as a serious wrestler. He was a two-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion when he was in TNA. The dude, one of the best guys back in the day when he was in TNA on the microphone, cutting great promos. Dude could work in the ring like crazy, and he showed the entire wrestling landscape that he could work and deliver in the ring. So happy to see where this goes. So happy for this guy. Hell of a promo last night by Ron Killings. Coming out as his legit self. No gimmick, nothing. The truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And speaking of awesome, the main event for the World Heavyweight Championship. Main event, Jey Uso versus Gunther, the ring general. And holy shit. What an ending. What a match. I did not expect Gunther to win the World Heavyweight Championship for a second time last night. Unfreaking real. The psychology in this match, the selling by both individuals, top-notch stuff. So good. So freaking good. I loved this main event. And I went on record last night saying this was the best Gunther and Uso match. Even better than WrestleMania. And that was a good match too. These two dudes beat the holy shit out of each other. It was so good. I love the strong style wrestling, that Japanese style wrestling that was also involved in this match. And just when you thought that it was over, because I thought Jey was going to win. And when he didn't, I mean, because I was thinking, they're doing the sleeper hold, thing, Jey's got it, Gunther's fading, then Gunther comes back, and then he puts it on him, then Jey puts it on, then Gunther puts it on him again. And then he goes out, passes out. Right, what? That can't be it. But it was. Gunther is the two-time World Heavyweight Champion. No cash in by Rollins. Oh, speaking of Rollins, he also came out during the Punk and Cena segment and teased the briefcase, which was to be expected. But, my God, incredible stuff last night. And this just goes to show you that you don't have to be the champion to be the guy and over with the fans. Because even if Jey isn't world champion, the fans, week after week, are still going to be doing the yeet chants and yeeting with them when his entrance happens. And like some friends of mine last night said on a Zoom last night during Raw, it's almost like Jey is this generation's Bret Hart, because Bret would come out and give the kid the the pink sunglasses back then. And now, some lucky kid's going to get the yeet with Jey. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. Hell of a job, everybody, last night on Monday Night Raw in Phoenix. I mean, just incredible stuff last night. I mean, the majority of that show was so good, but the one thing that wasn't good was Nikki Bella. Oh, dear God. Terrible. Stephanie Vacqua, the hell out of here. Vaquer, damn it. Get it right. Anyways, overall, the positives outweighed that one negative. So good last night. This was, hands down, in my opinion, the best Raw of the year so far for 2025. And going to be very interesting to see what happens here. Where does Gunther go from here? Where does Uso go from here? Where does Ron the Truth Killings go from here? Can't wait for Cena and Punk. More magic in that ring, on the microphone, and in the ring together, because I loved Punk and Cena's rivalry back in 2011. And going to be really cool this summer, I think. What is going on, Ez? What's up, brother? I agree, Don. Killings last night was epic. Oh, I know, right, Don? I wish your former college, university alumni, the guy himself, the Pounce, Monty Brown, would come back. That would be awesome. That would be awesome. No, Don, you are not the only one who does not like it. Because I was hoping for London, because that would have been different. And it would have been great. I mean, I get it. Money, money, all that crap. I get it. But I honestly don't like, me personally, I don't like the time. I don't like the time because I don't like having, the shows starting at, 1 o'clock in the damn morning on the East Coast, or, 12 o'clock midnight. I don't like that. I don't like it at all. Don't like it at all. So no, Don, you are not the only one. So yeah, you are firmly not the only one that does not wish that Mania was in a different location. A lot of my friends wishes that it was in a different location. If you're in New Orleans, you got to be, you still have to be, feeling pissed off. That you had a date, you had the location, you had some people that made already plans to be in New Orleans, and then it gets moved for Mania in Vegas again next year. And New Orleans gets Money in the Bank in August next year. So, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is going to do it for tonight. Thank you to Joey for joining tonight. Looking forward to having Joey back on next week, and looking forward to having you there, Ezra, down there in the chat, back on the show next week. Hope you and the family are doing wonderful today, my friend. And hopefully we can get Kevin back on here sometime soon to talk about the finals and to give his top 5 favorite games he's looking forward to during the NFL season for the upcoming year, 2025. Hard to believe that we are so close to the NFL season beginning in a couple of months. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, it's going to be glorious when the NFL returns. Thank you to everybody joining here in the chat. Looking forward to being back on next week as we recap more coverage of the NBA Finals, more coverage of the Stanley Cup Finals. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Hope you guys have a great a great up and coming Father's Day weekend. I'd say real quick, happy early Father's Day to my father this upcoming weekend. Looking forward to hanging out with your pops over the weekend. That should be a lot of fun. And speaking of a lot of fun, I had a lot of fun over the weekend with Kevin and friends at his daughter's 6th birthday party over the weekend on Saturday. That was awesome. That was awesome. Cool shooting the breeze on sports and wrestling and all that good stuff. And looking forward to being back on the air with you guys next week as we recap the rest of the NBA Finals. And hopefully by next Tuesday, we will have a 2-2 final series and not a 3-1 scenario or the finals being over. And hopefully the Stanley Cup Finals continues to deliver. Thank you to everybody being here tonight. Thank you to Ez. Thank you to Don and everybody here in the chat that joined us live tonight. And for those that tune in on demand, thank you very much as well. You can follow us on Twitter or X at Owen_Sports Show. Facebook.com/The Sports Show, and where we are live on most Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 4 p.m. Pacific at YouTube.com/The Sports Show. Be sure to like, share, subscribe to all your family and your friends that love the world of sports just as much as we do. And also, if you're into professional wrestling, don't forget to follow the guys and gal on the Nation's Corner on Twitter or X at Nation's Corner, Facebook at The Nation's Corner, Instagram at The Nation's Corner, and on YouTube, where they are live on most Saturday nights where it's all right for fighting. YouTube.com/The Nation's Corner, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. And also, real quick as well, Money in the Bank I thought was great, and Worlds Collide with AAA and WWE. That was unreal. And shout outs to Corey Graves on commentary during Worlds Collide. He killed it on commentary. Great weekend of wrestling. Great weekend of sports. Looking forward to being back on the air next week with you guys next week as we recap the rest of the NBA Finals and the rest of the Stanley Cup Finals. And Joey will give his thoughts on the biggest Karen in sports, Aaron Rodgers. And can't wait to hear Edge's reaction to this next week. And ladies and gentlemen, we're out of here. So with that being said, for K-Rock, Kevin Rory, JT, Joey Thornton, Ezra Vickery, Randy Gower, William Gower, and our favorite kitty cat, Sprocket, I have been your host for this evening, Stephen Wyand. This has been another edition of our Nation Sports Show. Be sure to have a great rest of your week, upcoming weekend with your family and your friends, and to all the dads out there, happy Father's Day this coming weekend. Take care of yourselves. Make memories with the ones that you love the most around you. Make memories with family and friends. Be good to each other. Be good to one another. If you see a stranger and they're in danger, help them out. Be good to your fellow neighbors. Be good to your fellow brothers and sisters out there. Treat each other the way you want to be treated. And most importantly, have a great rest of your week and weekend. Appreciate you guys being here tonight, here live on the air, in the chat. And for those that watch on demand, thank you very much as well. That being said, we're out of here. Peace.
Turn me up.